The weirder the better.
All right, and we're live. This is the Minor Illusion Minor Illusion YouTube channel, and we are playing Numenera today. Woohoo! And we are going to be previewing some of the stuff that's found in the Jade Colossus book that's coming out from Monty Cook Games. I was very graciously provided with a review copy of it, and we're going to do a bit of a review at the end of the game. All right, so we have 3 players today. Jordan, why don't you introduce your character?
Okay, so my character is named Nyx. She is an obsessive jack who taps to void. A few years ago, when the Jade Colossi first emerged, she was one of the many who first explored its cavernous passageways, and in doing so, she's learned a lot about the Midnight Stones. Now, she's taken 2 recent companions here that she is traveling with, and they've just left from the Jade Colossi after another successful expedition.
All right. And John?
I'm playing Alligary Slane, a swift jack who moves like a cat, and background is a wandering jack who spent the majority of his life alone, wandering the wastes, and has just recently thrown his lot in with these 2, and he's waiting to see what life presents.
All right. And Mel?
I'm playing a guarded jack who fights dirty. My character's name is Louise, and I'm just going to say that I heard tell of Nyx's exploratory stuff and thought it was really cool, and just wanted to kind of latch on to her and see what I could experience through her expertise.
All right. So after a successful expedition into the Colossus, and Nyx, this expedition was particularly successful for you, at least in the realms of knowledge gained. You've learned some very interesting information about the Colossus, how it appeared, and possibly even some insight as to why it appeared. But atypical of most explorations in the Colossus, this one was without very much danger. And you have a slight feeling like you got off easy. And there's next time you might not be so lucky. But for the past
next time, find someone to push in front of the obstacle.
Exactly. For the past 3 days, you have been heading away from the Colossus and heading towards the city of Glavis in the Steadfast. And why are you guys headed there to? Why are you headed to Glavis?
To trade some of the strange artifacts we have found.
Excellent.
Now that does remind me. Did we maybe find any Midnight Stones while we were in the Jade Colossi last?
You did. You found them. You found these sort of gray-black stones with kind of glowing green green lines going through them. It looks a bit like lava. And they're unlike anything you've seen before. They're not quite ciphers, which are quite typical throughout the Ninth World. These are something new. This is something different. And you have with you you brought, in preparation for this expedition, a bag which was prepared to carry a few extra ciphers that, when connected together or very close together, can produce interesting and sometimes explosive results. So this bag was prepared for that. And in it, you have about 4 or 5 of these stones.
Perfect. Now, my character would be more familiar with the Midnight Stones because that's half of her foci. So she probably has interacted with them before.
Yes, for the others, this is a new thing. Still, as far as the Ninth World goes, they are definitely new.
Oh yes.
You're just an expert on it, or the expert. Alrighty. And as you're making your way towards Glavis, it's about it's coming on evening right now. The dark is setting in, and your trio has just come upon a wagon train that are heading in the same direction you are.
Mm-hmm.
These are being pulled by rather tall bird-like creatures that they have metal skulls and metal fringed feathers, but of changing colors. If you look at their feathers one way, then they're aquamarine. If you look another way, then they're bright yellow. They're quite beautiful, but they snap and try and peck at anyone who gets too close. But they're pulling behind them gravity, like floating carriages. And on these carriages, you can see various containers, various... it looks like a merchant's caravan, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And trailing behind that are about 50 or 60 people in chains, with about 10 or so people riding around them, and with whip and what looked like goads, shocking goads in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what you see.
Typically, how is slavery accepted or not accepted in this area?
In Glaris specifically, there is not slavery is not accepted, but criminals are used for indentured labor. It's a possible way towards eventual freedom.
Are criminals who are indentured marked in any way, like branded or tattooed or anything like that?
They all have a metal stud in the back of their neck, which glows with a kind of amber light. And you can see on the belts of the various prison guards, you can see sort of a similar device to that glows with a red light.
Okay.
Shock collars, essentially.
Basically. And they're held together in one long, there's one long green lighted chain that is carried between them. And around their hands it's basically, it's not an actual chain, it's kind of light in the form of a chain. And so there's no actual weight to it. So they don't look like prisoners who have been carried by, carrying chains. They're walking fairly
Unrestricted, essentially.
unrestricted, but running away would be a bad idea.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that is what you see. What do you guys do?
I step out of the clear of the path myself.
Just for
Okay.
clarity, I want to make sure we're on foot.
Yes, you are.
Okay, I'm not gonna mess with them at all.
Okay.
We don't really have a reason to. We're minding our own business as travelers.
Exactly.
Yep. I'm just gonna observe them, see if there's anything curious about it beyond what we've seen.
Okay. They all look, well, I mean, they all look cast down. They don't look particularly happy, but you can see that they stop right in front of you, and they're all given a break, given food and water. It was quite a hot day, and so as far as you can tell, they're being fairly well cared for. One of the merchants on the caravan looks over at you and says, "Hello and welcome."
Hi. Not every day we see a slave caravan.
Slaves? No slaves here. And he looks theatrically in all directions.
Sorry, I got my nomenclature incorrect. Indentured servant caravan.
He looks at you and winks and says, "Yes, indentured servants. That's what we like to call them. Yes, these boys here, murderers, thieves, and tax dodgers. But yeah, they've got a couple of long years of service ahead of them, and who knows, eventual freedom at the end of it. What could be more civilized than that?"
I do love that. Murderers, arson, jaywalking.
Exactly.
So, are you leaving the city and traveling to Ballard?
We are, yes, we are headed that direction. We're starting to outsource our indentured servants.
Ah, work in the Colossi, I assume.
Well, yes, work nearby. It's the excavation work. It never ceases. May I offer you some wine?
I'll pass myself. I've been traveling along, and I still got quite a bit to go.
And you others?
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I drink only water.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, I wish you luck. And if you are ever in Glavis and you do you have anything to sell? You are coming from the direction of the Colossus.
Oh no, I personally do not have anything to sell.
What would you be in the market for if we were to have something to sell?
Well, the Colossus is all the rage, to be honest. Any artifacts, any tidbits, any knowledge that you could pass my way. He looks at you, and his voice is toned down a bit, as you can see that some of the other merchants in the other carts are looking your way. He says, if you bring me anything like that, I will promise to give you a good deal. Better than these thieves.
I mull it over myself.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, are we the types that would do our negotiation, or would we find fixers to do it for us?
That's up to you.
I'm less likely to sell artifacts I find personally because I have more of a vested interest in them.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't speak for the other two.
I'm just gonna let Nyx lead the way because I'm here, kind of trying to figure out what's going on with the Colossus and everything based upon her knowledge and want to be there.
Aligary's been by himself for so long that I doubt he would really offer to reveal anything that he had. Mm-hmm. So he pretty much would ask more questions than give answers. So he would not sell.
Okay. He looks at you, and he looks slightly disappointed when you all stare back at him in utter silence.
Unfortunately, the Jade Colossus has too traveled these days. Don't find anything interesting anymore.
He looks at you and he says, I see how it is. Well, if you do, wink, wink, find anything of any value and you wish to be parted from it, then look up Strabo Nebar in the city of Glavis. I have, you just mention my name and someone will direct you to my place of business, and I'll see what I can do for you. In fact, is there anything that you are looking for? Perhaps this this beautiful tiara that I have here. And he pulls up this kind of circlet of silver with a jade green stone in the center of it.
I kind of brush it off, and I'm like, I'm actually looking just for an inn and ale tonight. But I'll remember your name, kind lady.
Dusty!
Hey,
sorry.
Oh, go on.
Nope, I got a wasp.
Okay. And at this point, he looks at you and he says, well, I see. And then you hear from the front of the column the sound of a horn. And he says, well, we're off. Remember, Strabo Nebar in the city of Glavis. I should be back in a week or two.
Thanks for
and that should give me enough time to put out feelers and find out more about Strabo Nebar.
Mm-hmm. And the column moves forward. Now it's about evening. It's getting on evening time right now. So as it gets dark, you can see the light of the column behind you. It's quite flat, leading up to the city of Glamis. And you see that they make camp about an hour's distance. Do you make camp?
How far are we ourselves from Glavis?
About one more day.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, we'll make camp. What would we'll look for a suitable, well-traveled spot for a camp. Probably one well frequented. I can roll pathfinding if need be for that.
Okay.
And I rolled an 18, and I am trained on that.
Excellent. Yeah, you find a spot. It's slightly off the way of the path, but it's basically a section of stones. It may have been a structure at one point, but it's a combination of stones and synth metal, and it has a flat, hollowed out bowl at the top of it. It's basically a small hill. But from that vantage point, you can see all around the countryside for miles.
Pretty.
Yeah. And you see the stars begin to shine, and it is quite bright. And from your camp, you can see the camp of the merchants, about a mile away.
Okay. I'll take
Any
first watch.
Okay. All right, and then we'll presume that who wants to take second watch?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that one.
Who wants to take second watch?
I'll take second watch.
Okay. John, did you miss everything, or were you able to hear it?
Sorry, I had a large wasp, and it was tormenting my dogs. I had to get them outside and get the wasp out. I missed it.
That's okay. Where did we leave off for you?
They were negotiating about Strabo Nabar, how to get in touch with him, and if you get to the city, look me up.
Yeah, he ended up. The column moved on, and you guys, both you and the column, camped about about an hour's distance from each other. You guys are on a hill that gives you a good view of the surrounding countryside. And the column is you can see them, the lights of the column in the distance away.
Alrighty. So now we're setting up a watch for camp.
Yes. So Jordan, as your watch commences, about half an hour into your watch, you hear a rumbling. I'm going to need a level 4 intelligence test. Intellect test.
From who?
Okay. And is there a specific skill on it?
You're basically trying to discern where that came from. Anything to do with that?
Okay, like a perception, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a 15. I have a searching, but I do not have perception. Would searching work?
Yes, it would.
Okay, so yeah, 15 and trained.
Okay, perfect. All right, so you feel that a rumbling in the dirt, and you look out, and you can tell that there's a minor earthquake going on, but it's centered on the campsite of the merchant column. And as you're watching from the center of that campsite, a bright beam of green light shoots up to the heavens. It looks like somebody turned on a massive torch or a laser pointer, basically, but it's basically covering the whole site. And where the ring of fire was, that denoted the boundaries of the camp, that green light covers all of it. And while you're as you see the light begin to fade, you see that there is no campsite. There is just a hole. where that campsite was before.
Okay. Now, would this noise have woken up the other two, or do I have to wake them up?
Yes. When the green light erupted from the ground, it created a kind of a strange pulsing, whirring noise, like somebody starting a jet motor, basically. Like a whir, whir, whir kind of noise.
Now, my character would have been in Ballard when the Jade Colossi first erupted. Is this reminiscent of that?
It is.
I think I know what I'm obsessive about for my descriptor today.
Okay.
And it is exploring this new structure. I'm making sure these guys are awake and gathering their stuff, and I am taking off ahead of them.
Okay. Sounds good.
So there's a structure that's above ground? I thought it was just like a beam of light.
There was a beam of light, and from centered around the merchant's camp, and where the camp used to be, there is now a massive hole in the ground.
Oh yeah, I know about that.
But there is still a beam of green light heading up to the heavens, but it is not. It's not anywhere near as big as it was before.
Okay. I'm gonna go behind Nyx, but I'm gonna stealth there if possible.
I am full on running. I'm not even worrying about stealth at this point. First come, first serve to the spoils.
Okay.
Do you want me to roll?
All right. And John?
Alligary will stay right with the other. He's not going to run. He's going to maintain a cautious approach.
Okay. And as you're running, you feel through your feet the earthquake intensifies in a kind of in a pattern, a kind of kind of like the background noise of an engine. And while you're running, you can see that cracks are forming in the ground around you. And since you're running ahead, Nyx, you're going to have to make a speed defense roll, not to fall in the ground. And since you're obsessively running towards the hole in the ground without really minding anything else of your surroundings, this is going to be an 8.
Okay, now I'm enthralled with exploring it, so that would allow me to bring it one step lower.
Yes.
Let's see. I am trained in speed defense, so that brings it down another step lower.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, actually, I have far step. Can I just jump safely across any gap? It would cost me intellect points every time I use it.
Definitely.
Perfect. So yeah, I'm actually going to use far step instead to bypass that. That'll cost me an intellect point. Actually, 2 intellect points.
Okay. Alrighty. And the others, I'm going to say that this is not as difficult for you to avoid since you're behind Nyx and you can see Jordan's character jumping out of the way. But it's going to be a level 6.
A level 6?
Yes. There's a massive. The ground is basically falling away beneath you.
Now, I want to be using my far step to go the maximum of the long distance towards the Colossi, of course.
Yeah, basically, imagine the ground beneath you is eroding away, but like the other hole that you're heading towards, it's kind of in a circle. And so you can jump beyond that and head towards the main.
Perfect.
So I rolled a 2.
Ooh.
But I am trained in speed defense, and I'm also trained in perception. So I'm not sure.
You can't stack skills, unfortunately.
Oh, you
Yeah,
can?
that would.
You can stack assets up to a maximum of 2, and then you can use 1 skill relevant, and you can use your effort.
Yeah, so I basically rolled a 5.
Okay. And John?
I am negotiating what to roll here. First, so you need to. This is going to be a speed related, right?
Yes. You'll need to roll on the D20 an 18 or better.
Do you have speed defense?
I
John?
do. I have a couple different things to consider here. I've got I got the Born Lucky, and I've got Safe Fall if that comes into effect. And let's see here.
That may very well come to effect.
Hard to Touch, which is trained in speed defense. And that's the enabler one.
Yep.
And I guess
So
that's basically it.
So your speed defense training basically brings the roll down to a 15 or higher. So if you wanted to exert effort, you could exert 1 to 3 levels of effort, and the 1 level costs 3 points, 2 levels cost 5, 3 levels cost 7. But it will bring it down each step. So you could, if you wanted to spend all your effort, you could bring it down to a task 2, which would require a 6 or higher, or you can just bring it down to any in between there.
Okay, the only effort number that I see on the character sheet is a 1.
You have 2 more efforts because you're tier 3. So you actually have effort level 3.
All right, so effort of 3. So let me change that.
No problem.
And save it and save. Okay, so we got a level effort of 3. So you're saying that if I spend all 3 points,
so
for this
you don't really spend it. It's just the maximum you can bring it down. So when you become tier 4, your effort becomes 4, so you can bring it down 4 steps if you spend effort. But
okay.
So if you wanted,
and once I use this, is it gone for the game?
What does go away is speed points. So you know how you have a speed pool of 24 and
Correct.
an edge of 2? So what that means for you is the edge will automatically lower the cost of effort. So for you, using speed effort will cost you 1 point for 1 level, 3 points for 2 levels, and 5 points for 3 levels. So if you use all 3 levels, you'd be putting your speed pool to 19.
Well, let's go ahead and do that for mechanical sake, just to see how the game plays.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna lower that to 19. So it was down to a 15, I believe, and then that drops it to a
6 or higher, because you dropped it down 3 steps, which drops it down 3 points on the target number each step you go down.
All right, very good. So I'm going to roll a d20, and I'm pulling it up now. I'm doing the digital. Whoever's got background going on with their TV or whatever, it's echoing really bad on my end. Okay.
Same.
Weird. All right, now it's gone. I got a 13.
That would succeed because it's a 6 or higher.
Okay, so very gracefully he bounces around, steps over the breaking pieces, and with little to no effort, like a butterfly.
All right. And that leaves you, Mel, plummeting into the center of the void. I'm going to throw a GM intrusion at your direction to say that this is a free fall. You've not been able to grab onto anything.
Okay.
And you get 2 XP.
I'll give 1 to Nyx.
Okay.
I'm going to need it.
I think we're all going to need it. Okay, so you two are... Nyx, do you even stop to notice, or you're just carrying on?
No. To stop would be to die. You do not stop when you're exploring ruins.
Okay. John, do you notice that Mel's character has just vanished?
Nope. He is. He's watching his own. He's been alone for too long. He's just going to carry. He's going to carry on until he comes to a safe and stable position to observe.
Okay.
Okay. So what am I seeing?
You survived.
What you see is you're basically falling into a black pit. You can't see very much around you, but as you're falling down, you see these. It's a bit of a blur at first, but you see these snake-like tendrils flying out of the wall. They're whipping out of the wall towards you, a bit like tentacles. But
they're living creatures.
Well, a bit hard to tell at the speed you're going.
Okay, I'm gonna try and grab one.
Yeah, it's more that they're trying to grab you.
Well, I'm gonna let that happen.
Okay. As you're falling down, you one of the tendrils leaps out and wraps around your chest, and you suddenly stop quite abruptly, and you feel a kind of you feel a sharp needle-like pain in your chest, and you
Okay.
realize that this thing has stabbed you somehow, and
Okay.
you start to feel a numbness going through your body.
Oh God. Okay.
And around your chest, around the wound site, you see this kind of foam, green foam, building up around your body, and it starts to spread all over your body. It spreads down your lower half of your body and up towards your head, above over your eyes, and you can still see through this foam. It's very clear. But as it covers your body, it starts to harden and form into a green crystal.
Okay.
From your feet upwards, you've suddenly become immobile. You can't move. You can't. And as it creeps up your body, you thrash about trying to get away, but you become a crystallized form.
But I can't move my limbs or anything within the crystal.
No, you're basically how do you look as you are finally crystallized?
Like Han Solo.
Perfect. Okay. And the last thing that you see is yourself being pulled into into an opening in the wall.
Holy shit. Okay.
I'm just going to go out there. Don't worry about it. You will reappear.
Okay.
That wasn't the end.
I guess I can go out for dinner now or something.
Okay. So your party's down by one, but neither of you have noticed. And you make it to the crater of the campsite.
Yep.
All right, and there's the green light in the center of the hole. It's still there, and it's still quite strong, but it's basically like a flagpole, but that you can't see the end of it. About that, yeah.
And what of the caravan? Is there any survivors?
There are no people around, but you can see fallen by the side of the pit. You can see half of one of those bird-like creatures. It looks like it was sliced in half by the beam.
Oh wow! It's a good thing we didn't go with it.
Yes, and part of one of the merchants' caravans also cut in half, but no people.
Well, it's for the best. It'd be pretty gory if I did see them. So I'm assuming that the beam would be hazardous to touch at this point.
The beam is about 40 feet into the pit.
Okay. Is there any stairway-looking place into the hole or anything like that?
There isn't a stairway, but apparently part of the ground is slightly unstable, and at some point, maybe in the last earthquake, part of the circle has slumped down, and so it's not so much a step as it is a slide.
Is it steep enough that we can walk down though, or is it too steep that we're gonna end up sliding down?
It's steep enough that you're going to slide down. It's basically your one option is Geronimo.
How deep does it look?
You cannot see the bottom.
Let's check my character sheets. Back, so I'm going to take a hammer and spike, and I'm going to make a little harness for myself, and I'm going to see how far I can go with my rope.
Okay.
with the slide.
How? Okay. What are you anchoring to?
I would be anchoring into the ground.
Okay. How long does the rope go?
It is 50 feet.
Okay. And John, what is your character doing at this time?
Well, if he has reached a point of stability, he's going to look back and see if he can locate where the other people are and how they made it through the opening. You know, how they made it through the situation.
Okay. So, sorry, you're looking for other people? You said?
Well, if my impression of the situation is correct, ran up ahead. A lot of stuff happened with the ground. He leaped out of the way. More stuff happened. We had to duck and dodge. I did not fall into a hole, and now I have gained some stability. See where everybody else is.
Okay.
So yes, I'm looking for the other two members of my small collective.
Well, you notice that you're down one, and that the other member of your party is setting up he's anchoring his rope into the ground and looks like he's prepared to abseil into the abyss.
Gary will take a rock and toss it over the side and see if he can hear anything first.
You throw the rock in, and you listen, 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 and then dink. Down near the very, very bottom.
That sounds more like a couple 100 feet, my friend. And where is our other party member?
Welcome to the Colossi. I knew things were a little too easy. She may turn up. That's not your major concern now. You may want to harness up as well.
All right. So as you two are preparing to make the descent, we will transfer back to Mel. If she's Mel, are you there?
She is not there. Her chair is unoccupied currently.
Okay, then we'll wait for her to get back. All right. So we will carry on with you two. You are heading down the rope?
No.
Activate my midnight armor, by the way.
Okay. What are you doing, John?
Based on experience of being an explorer, and especially having to do this sort of thing on his own, I'm going to drop another rock to try to judge the distance, because I'm not going to go over the side of a 300-foot chasm with a 50-foot rope.
Okay.
You tell me what you want me to look at and roll, and that's what I will do. I am looking, and I see nothing particular that's going to help me with that. So it's just going to have to be general experience.
All right, you're trying to find an alternate means?
Well, first I want to determine that we already know that it's pretty far down, and I want to get a better idea of how far down it is. Okay. So based on my experience of being in chasms and holes and so forth, can we get a general idea how far that is, or is that not possible?
Do you have any ciphers that might help?
I am looking to see. The ciphers I've got are not that type of thing. It's a skill boost, a stem, and a bomb. So no, they're not going to help.
Well, that flash bomb would probably could very well help.
It could, but I'm not in any sort of danger or immediate need. How about something more mundane? How about a torch? Make a fire of something and drop it down.
Definitely, you'd have the means to do that.
All right, so I'll make a little ball of fabric or whatever, twine, pieces of whatever I can find that's flammable, and add some oil to it, light it, and toss it over the side.
Okay. All right, and you do that, and it makes it, you see the torch fluttering down in a kind of spiral, and you see it hit the bottom and go out, but your guess is about 300, 400 feet.
Right. So I'm not going over the side. So let's start looking for another path. I'm gonna take out one of the glow globes if it's dark, and if not, then I will carry on.
Okay. Give me a perception check.
Perception check. Let me check my sheet to see if there's anything in particular for perception.
It's quite dark out, so we'll just say it's a 4.
Okay. If it is dark, he did say that we're going to take out a glow globe, so he'll have that.
That would be an asset.
And
so drop it down to 3.
All right, stand by. Let's go. Let's deal with the asset first.
Okay.
Where do I mark off asset?
Don't worry about that. Assets are basically, if you have anything that you think would help you make with a roll, then that could be considered an asset. And that would, all it does is it drops the difficulty level by 1.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't something I need to account for. I got you. I thought I was doing item management or something like that.
No.
Okay, so we got that. So that's 1 for the asset, and then like skill, safe fall, none of that. Okay, he doesn't have anything particular that's going to add to.
Well, you can always jump over and hope safe fall negates enough damage.
Yeah, I could, but if it was like 10 more feet or 20 more feet to go, that would be my plan. But just leaping over this. I didn't make it all this way by myself to just throw myself off a cliff.
What was your result for the perception check?
I was seeing if there's anything I needed, if I had anything to add to the perception check, so I'm rolling it now.
Okay.
So rolling it in now and rolling, and I have a 14.
Excellent. As you're looking around, you hear a kind of rustling behind you, and you turn around and you see one of those birds from earlier, and it is still attached to one of those floating carts. And it seems to be wandering around a bit aimlessly. And if you want, you can spend 3 intellect points to gain an insight, which is basically a clue.
Based on the experience, have we run into these hover carts before?
Oh yeah, it's fairly typical in the Ninth World.
If you were to take a hover cart and let's say you come to a section of the road that has a 10-foot drop, and you were to push the cart over that drop, does it go over slowly, or does it tip over and crush?
It would go over slowly, but and it wouldn't actually hit the bottom of the cart. But if you were to magnify that by, say, 300 feet, then
we could consider that, right?
You would get the idea that the cart would probably smash, but that you would be likely to survive. Also, the cart is filled with fruit.
Ah, very good.
With soft fruit.
Soft fruit?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's shift over to Mel.
Yes.
All right. Mel, you wake up. You're still in the crystal, but your eyes were open when you were finally crystallized. And it's not so much waking up as though you exit the tube that you were put into, and your crystal slams down onto the equivalent of a conveyor belt, but it is made of green light, and you're not able to see anything except the ceiling since you're pointed upwards, but crystal gets jostled around from time to time, and you catch glimpses of what's around you. And you see other crystals all around you, and inside those crystals you can make out vaguely humanoid forms.
You're talking to me, right?
Yes.
Do I have any use of my extremities? Do my hands or...
You do not, but you I'm going to say that if you want, you can say that you had a cipher available in your hand at the time you were crystallized.
Okay, cool. Because I have a portal ring
Mhm.
that I would like to try and use, if
Okay,
possible.
what
It's
does
a
that
level
do?
7.
Sorry, what was that?
It's a level 7 portal ring.
Okay. So,
You want to know what it does? Because I have a little. Essentially, it creates a portal.
Excellent.
A small metallic ring that affixes itself to any flat surface and immediately widens until it reaches 5 feet in diameter or the edge of a surface it was placed on. The surface inside the ring vanishes, opening up a hole up to 5 feet in depth.
Okay. I'm going to say that you you want to activate that?
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty. So you activate this the portal ring. It was in your hands or on your finger, but you know you're still able to see, you're still able to think and everything, and so you mentally activate it.
Okay.
And a portal opens up beneath you, and your crystal falls through, and you find yourself you've landed on a floor of a very large chamber, and as your crystal smashes into the ground, you feel cracks in the crystal around you, and the instant it cracks, it starts reforming into that foam again, and starts to you start to be able to move again, and you can basically brush it off you.
Yeah, I'm going to get up and brush it off me and not have that on me any longer. So now I'm free?
You're free of it, but you're in total darkness, unless you have some means of making light.
I have a glow globe.
Indeed.
We'll say yes.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm going to, turn the glow globe on.
Activating that, you find yourself inside of a triangular chamber. You seem to be roughly in the center.
Okay.
And you see in the 3 corners of the room, there appears to be no door whatsoever.
Okay, and on the conveyor belt, are there more crystals, and are people within the crystals?
The conveyor belt and that room that you were in has vanished.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You
okay,
basically,
so I'm in a triangular pyramid-shaped room
you
with
fell
no
through the
doors.
ceiling basically, and landed in this room.
Okay, right. And there's no doors or windows or anything in this room.
There are not.
Okay, I'm gonna try and look around with some more detail and see if I can find maybe some cracks in the walls or some kind of inconsistency in the fabric of the room itself.
Around the walls of the room, you can see these green crystalline shapes jutting from the wall. And as you're exploring around, you find that these shapes have patterns, possibly even language written into them, though impossible for you to read. And when you touch one of the crystals, or do you?
Yes.
I'm going to say you do. You get another GM intrusion.
Okay, I'll give the other XP to. Sorry, what's your name, John?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you get an XP.
All right. And as you touch the crystal, you hear a shout, a wordless shout, echo from out of the crystal. And once the crystal lights up with green light, the shout reverberates in the chamber, and then each of the crystals shouts out again in a different tone, different voice, but all wordless and all frightened sounding.
Okay, and how large are the crystals?
Varying sizes. The one that you touched was about 7 or 8 feet tall.
Okay, so a human could fit inside of them.
Definitely.
but I can't see a human in them. They're like sort of opaque.
These ones are opaque, yes. They look old.
Okay, I smashed a crystal.
Okay.
I
All
tried
right.
to.
All right. What are you using to smash a crystal?
Well, let's see what I have. I guess I'll use this Verid. It does 4 damage.
Okay.
Seems to be the only sort of smashing type thing.
All right. Level 3. Attack the crystal.
Nope. I rolled a 6.
As you smash at the crystal, the sound reverberates again, and another shout echoes from all the crystals in the room, so loud that you are going to have to make a might defense roll in order to resist taking sonic damage.
Okay.
Level 5.
Yeah, I should have used effort. I rolled a 12.
Okay, you take 4 sonic damage, basically.
From my might pool?
Yes.
Okay. I want to try and talk to the crystal. I'm just going to say somebody in there and see if it can hear me or will communicate back.
Okay. So as you are doing that, we will jump back to the others. And right. So John, you've got the floating cart in front of you, and Jordan, are you you're heading down into the hole?
Yep. And so I am slowly sliding down with the rope.
Okay.
I
You
assume I reached the end of my rope.
you have reached the end of your rope.
Okay. So how far do I see above me? Like considerably. Like I know I've got a 50-foot rope, but like how steep down am I?
It's quite steep. So you're about 30 feet down, basically.
Okay, so almost a complete short distance down.
Yes.
Let me just double check the explorer's pack in this kit. Explorer's pack 82. 2 minor glow globes. Perfect. Is it possible to activate a glow globe and drop it off the side?
Like drop it down into the pit?
Yes.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
One of my glow globes and drop it. I want to see how far I can see it go down.
Okay. You see it fall, and you can see it land with a clatter at the bottom of the pit. And beyond that, it looks about 300 and a bit feet down. And you're.
I'm going to. Sorry, I'm going to cut my rope and far step down to that glow globe.
Okay. I'm going to say that. Interesting. So, at what point do you use fast step? When you've right as you cut the rope, or once you've sunk a little bit?
What, like basically, right when I cut the rope, because I would have a jumping place to go from.
Yeah.
And you have to leap through the air and land some distance away. You can jump down across the long range if you have a clear and unobstructed path to that location. You land safely.
All right, and you land amongst dirt and debris.
Do I see any bones?
No. Next to your glow globe, you see the remains of one of the carts, and beyond that, the room is quite dark beyond the range of your glow globe. But you do feel that beneath the dirt, you can feel metal on the ground.
Like as though I'm standing on a metal structure?
As though you're standing on a metal structure, yes.
The first thing you do is investigate the cart, because I want to see if, one, there's anyone surviving in here who would have witnessed this, and two, if if there's anything good to steal, to be honest, because no one's probably alive to care.
Okay. You, as you look around in the cart, you find smashed items, smashed drinks, casks of ale, casks of wine, and a bent and twisted tiara with a green stone in the center of it.
I'm going to take that. See, I didn't have to trade anything away, guys. This is why you don't jump at the first merchant.
Yes, you got it at a knockdown price.
I can get it hammered straight. I'm going to put it in my pack.
All right. And John, what do you do?
Real quick, I was looking through the character sheet, and there was a note for a GM added oddity. You want to add the oddity so I have an idea what it is?
Oddities are, I hadn't really added them for this game. Oddities are, they're non-mechanical.
Okay.
They're just weird things that reinforce the setting.
They can totally be mechanical. We've had some really interesting ones. Dimensional chairs. How high up from sea level you are based on what color it goes.
Yeah, they are not by default mechanical, but can definitely be so.
Okay, so the just to be clear of the situation, there were 2 other party members, both of them female. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the 2 names again, please.
Nyx, NYX.
All right.
And your character, Mel?
Mel, you're muted.
Sorry, Louise.
Louise. Okay.
Louise?
Louise, yeah.
Let me guess, Bob's Burgers?
No, it's me, probably, but it was just the first thing that came to my mind.
Okay, so of the 2 people that keeping in mind that Allegory here has been by himself all this time, and he meets these two ladies, and one gets lost in all of the commotion, and the other one jumps off a cliff. So he's gonna grab a piece of fruit, give it to the bird, get another piece of fruit, and just sit there and take it in for a few minutes.
Okay.
And given some thought, because you know, neither situation is good. How far back would I have to go to get to the point where we lost track of Louise?
About 20 minutes walk, basically.
Okay, I guess I'm at the point that all the ground broke away and we lost track of Louise. I traveled for like another 20 minutes before I got stable ground. Is that what you're saying?
Basically, yeah.
So it's go back 20 minutes towards an unstable situation, or deal with leaping off this cliff, or what are my other options?
You can always take up a career as a fruit salesman.
I was just thinking, find the nearest pub.
Basically. But yeah, if you wish to pursue your, exploration, then a desperate act is your only way to get that down there.
Okay, so could you describe my immediate area that I'm in right now, so I can get an idea of the position? Yeah,
you're in a flat plain. There's no real distinguishing features. The area around Glavis is not. It's a place that you travel through, not a place that you stay. It's quite a distance towards any inhabited areas in any direction, and you're immediately around you. You have just a few of the remnants of the camp, broken pieces of the various carts. There is the part of the chain that was holding the prisoners together on the ground nearby. And that's about it, apart from the one intact cart that you have.
Okay. All right. Well, it's I'll call over to Nix. It's Nix. You still alive?
Would I hear the distance?
Yeah, I'd say at that distance you'd hear a very echoey voice saying, "Nix, are you alive?"
I put my hand on my palm, or on the forehead, a palm on my forehead, and I'm like, "Oh, amateurs." I light my last glow globe, and I huck it up into the air up in the air towards them.
Okay. So yeah, John, you see a light suddenly grow on the floor and suddenly leap into the air. It sails up from the bottom for a little bit and then plunges back down.
And it's still lit?
It is.
Okay.
Would my glow globe still then hover around me once it comes back down?
Yes.
I have a light source to explore further, and that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
You know, that's fine. He's gonna assume that because they didn't respond that Nix is injured. So 2 blinks for safe and 1 blink for injured.
I only got 1 active glow globe, so unfortunately that message is not going to come through.
He covers up his face and says, "Amateurs, why couldn't you just cover up the globe with your hands and make it blink?" So he's going to assume that Nix is dying, and he's going to go look for the other young lady.
Good luck.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we'll. Jordan.
I'll take the bird with me, I guess.
Okay. As you hitch up your cart and head towards the last place that you saw Louise,
right.
You ride off into the night. All right, and we'll shift over to Jordan.
So I am going to explore further, and I coax my pet Dritch, Lux, to come out of my cloak, and I'm going to have her look for any smells of or signs of midnight stones to lead me.
Okay. She's been trained to do that?
So the pet Dritches are naturally proficient at sniffing out midnight stones, so whenever I look for midnight stones, the difficulty of finding one's reduced by 1 step. I basically want to use a Dritch to kind of find a path, essentially.
Okay. She didn't find any immediately nearby, but she does find a tunnel leading out from the crater, and it looks like there may be some down there.
Perfect. I would like to make a pathfinding roll to find a safe path through.
Okay. As the yeah.
I got a 12 and I'm trained.
Okay. All right. Yes, you do find a pathway through. I'm going to say though that you do need to make another roll for your right as you walk up to the edge of the hole that's been dug into the ground, and it sort of descends downwards in a bit of a spiral pattern. You get a waft of air that just shoots out of the hole at you, and I am going to need a smell check.
Okay.
Happen to have on hand to help.
I got a 7 and I'm not trained.
Okay. Nope. You think it smells lovely.
So what does it smell like to me then? It's
it
lovely.
Smells somewhat earthy. There's a faint background smell that you find a bit off-putting, but you can't place it yet. What exactly that is?
Like a sweet smell?
A bit, slightly, yes.
Okay.
All right. And as you make your way down, you hear a strange sort of kind of dirge, a kind of chant in the background that undulates as you get nearer. It gets kind of louder then softer. It sounds like almost like people singing a prayer or a hymn or something like that.
So it sounds human then?
It sounds humanoid, but it doesn't sound in any language that you know. They're not speaking the truth.
But it sounds something that, like, it sounds like something that I could replicate
Yes.
with my human voice. Okay. Fuckers are already beat me to the punch. I am going to stealthily advance. I want to get a good look at these suckers and see if they're getting anything good.
Okay. All right. And we will shift back to Mel. You are still within the triangular chamber,
Okay.
attempting to speak to the crystal.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and speak to the crystal this time and see if they can communicate back to me in a way other than screaming, or they can hear me.
Sorry.
Sorry.
You speak to the crystal, and you hear. What do you say?
I'm just gonna say somebody in there. I'm gonna try and get you out. Just let me know if you're in there.
Okay. You hear voices coming from not just the crystal you spoke to, but the others. From each crystal is a distinct voice, and they're speaking the same language as you, but what they're saying is nonsense.
Okay.
It's just a collection of words, a collection of phrases. You hear the names of people, the names of places, the names of things. It's not comprehensible. But as you're speaking to them, you see off to your side towards the pinnacle of the triangle. You're basically at the bottom of the triangle at the moment.
Okay.
But towards the top of the triangle, you see a glow on the floor.
I see what on the floor, sorry?
Like a glowing circle.
I approach the glowing circle, but do not stand on it.
Okay. It appears to be a 10-foot wide circle glowing with a faint white light. And you can see in the center, basically it's a circle of white light, and in the center of that is a disc of metal that appears to be spinning around quite slowly at about 2 miles an hour or so.
I step on it.
Okay, excellent. As you step on it, it starts to speed up. Not too much, not that you're being flung off or anything, but it's going about 5 miles an hour or so.
Okay, has the color changed at all, or?
No, the color has stayed the same, but you feel that the disc is spinning one way, and the light in the circle is spinning the opposite direction.
Okay.
And as the disc in the center has reached a speed at which you're not going to be flung off, but you are having to kind of get on all fours and hang on as much as you can for a flat disc. And the light around you starts to spin, faster and faster and faster. And while it's spinning, you see a stream of light from all the from around the circle create kind of a cage over you, and then the cage fills in, and then there is a white circle around the top of you. And right as it starts to get extremely bright, you feel yourself disintegrate, and then and then come back together violently in a new location.
Oh, in a new location. Oh, cool. Where am I now?
You are in. You still have your glow globe with you? I'm going to say.
I do. Yeah.
Okay. You find yourself in a circular chamber, and dominating the center of the circular chamber is a large green crystal, at the center of which is what can only be described as a monster. A strange tentacled being, vaguely humanoid, but definitely not something you want to encounter. But it is encased within the crystal.
Oh.
But as you look at it, you can see that its eyes look at you, and from within the crystal, but it can't move. It can't get at you, and it's
Okay.
floating a couple of feet off the floor. But it's about 30 feet. The crystal is about 30 feet tall.
Damn. Okay, that's a big monster. It's like a
It
tentacled,
is.
kind of like underwater looking monster.
A little bit, yes. It's got a combination of tentacles and two long tusks growing out of its face, and it has 3 eyes.
Cute.
Yeah. Kind of like if you were to combine a bat and an octopus, but make it gigantic.
I see. Okay. Is there anything else in the room, or that's the only thing in the room?
That is what you see immediately, but looking beyond the crystal, you see a series of tunnels leading away from that room.
I'm just gonna say to the monster, I'm not gonna figure out how to let you free because I'm afraid of you. So good luck, and then take one of the other tunnels that. I mean, I'm sure I have no idea where I am in relation to where I came in. So I'm just gonna. I don't know. How many tunnels are there?
There's about 6 of them.
Okay, I'm gonna roll a d6.
Okay.
I'll take the second tunnel.
Okay. All right, and we're going to shift back to John. You have arrived at the pit where Louise vanished.
Very well. You still say it's nighttime? That the idea?
This has all been about
how long
an hour or 2.
Go ahead. And once we initiate a glow globe, how long do they stay on?
1 hour.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
1 hour.
1 hour?
Torch.
Yeah, he's not going to waste it for that. He'll just go with the torch thing again.
Okay.
So having access to the fruit and the bird and the cart, he's in a comfortable position. There have been no other shaking or green lights or nothing like that.
Not
correct?
since earlier, no.
Since earlier. Okay, well, there's no particular reason to rush at this point. So he's going to take a cautious and calm approach, which is how he survived this long, and do some investigation into this pit and see if there's a safe way down.
Okay. Like the other pit, there has been a bit of collapse going on now.
Right.
But unlike the other one, there's it's at less of a steep angle, so you could see yourself descending quite easily.
Okay. Well, he's just going to call out. Louise, are you safe? Are you sound?
And there is no response.
How about as far as the sound travels? Are we looking at echoes, or are we just looking at dead air?
Dead air.
I'm assuming I can't hear him.
No, you cannot.
Okay.
All right.
How long till light?
You probably got about 5 hours or so. At least until bright light. Another 2 or 3 hours and it'll be pale light.
All All right. Well, he's gonna hobble the bird and offer some fruit to him, and he's just gonna chill out and wait for more light to go down in a safe manner. He just met these folks. He's not gonna leap off a cliff for either one of them. But
Okay.
If she's down there and injured and can't call up, there's nothing I can do. And if she's somewhere else, I won't be able to see anyway. So I'm gonna wait it out.
Okay. All right, Jordan. As you're making your way down the tunnel, you start to the sound gets significantly louder, and you see a very, very faint glow from a chamber beyond the exit.
Okay. I rolled for a stealth. I am trained, and when my midnight armor is active, which it is, I also get an asset, so it's brought down 2 steps.
Okay, so that is a level 2.
Yes. So I rolled a 13 on that.
Okay, then you're good to go. Yeah, are you entering the chamber?
Yes, I'm going to try and get close so I can investigate who these people are.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And what they look like.
As you enter the chamber, there is a kind of an alcove to your right that you can enter and kind of get out of the way. Stealthily observe the room from there.
Okay.
And looking out into the room, you see about 30 or so humanoid shapes in black robes. And from what little you can see of their skin, it seems very pale white. And they all seem to, some of them are gathered in a circle, and they seem to be, those are the ones that are singing. And the others are are wandering around the chamber at various points on different tasks. But as you watch the choir, basically, you see them all draw from within their robes a white dagger, shaped like, it looks a bit like a more of a spike than a dagger.
Okay.
And it appears to be made of something that you've not encountered before. It doesn't appear to be metal. Kind of, it has the sheen of pearl to it.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're watching them, you see from the ceiling a hole open up in the ceiling, and a kind of tube, vaguely flesh-like tube, descends from the ceiling, and from that tube is ejected a green crystal. And as the crystal thumps on the floor, it cracks, and you can see that within what was the crystal is the crystal itself turns into a kind of foam, and from within the foam you see a human shape. This time, it looks like, from what you can see, the human has a stud on the back of its neck.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets up and he starts cursing and saying, "Where am I? What's going on here?" And as he gets onto his feet, a crescendo of music, of singing, erupts from the choir, and they all leap forward and start stabbing at this figure.
Okay, so then I hid.
Yeah, and he's dead quite quickly, but each one of them stabs him, and each one of them licks the knife as they retreat. And and one of them, slightly taller than the rest of them, walks forward, and he has in his hands a made of the same material as the daggers, but shaped like an axe. And he starts to separate the limbs from the body and the head from the body, and separate the body into pieces, and hand pieces around to the various members of the choir. and they all start eating the body.
Nice. So, Catholics a billion years ago, or from now, taking it things way too literal.
Oh no. Yeah, this is not a
Way too
typical
literal.
church. These and I'm going to make you make an intellect roll to try and determine if you know what these creatures are.
Ooh, I rolled a 20.
Oh yes, you definitely know what they are. They are, and it is spelled Sysygy, but I'm just going to say Siggy, the Siggy ghouls. They are, you've heard of them. They are corpse eaters, which you know from firsthand experience now. But more than that, they are obsessed with knowledge. And because you got a 20 and therefore a major effect, I'm going to let you know that they are typically found in areas where they're typically found in areas where they can capture people and steal their knowledge, and so they move around. The inference that you get is that they have decided that the Jade Colossus, its expansions into the rest of the Ninth World, it's basically shooting offshoots out. The Jade Colossus is growing, and it's heading in the direction of Glavis, and it looks like these corpse eaters are using it as a place of refuge and a means of collecting victims.
Okay. So, how do I know how they extract knowledge from people? Is it through eating them?
It is through eating them. It's kind of they don't necessarily need to eat the brain, but
They just need to eat part of them.
just part of them, yes.
Okay, so yeah, it's definitely not something I want to willingly try and barter with. Then they can just take my knowledge from me, essentially. I think I'm
Yeah.
going to remain hiding for now and continue to observe. Maybe once they're done their ritual, they will depart and I can explore further.
Okay. All right, we will shift back to Mel. You are climbing up one of the passageways, and you arrive at the end of the passage in just enough time to see what Jordan just saw.
I'm gonna hide.
Okay, make a stealth roll.
Okay, I'm trained. Oh god, I rolled 7.
Right. Yes, you just as you exit the tunnel, you go, hooray! I'm out of there, and then you walk straight into one of these ghouls.
Oh god, and I'm in combat now, essentially.
You will be. We're going to shift back to John, and then we'll get back into the combat.
Okay.
All right.
Do you want to go back to them, because my timeline's off compared to what they've actively got going on?
It is, though. I am going to let you know that another all three of you feel a rumbling in the dirt around you, and another hole has opened up. Is opening up next to the one you're standing by, John.
When you say next to, like, hey, that's really cool because that's happening over there, or oh god, it's happening right here?
It's oh god, it's happening right here.
Okay, well, I'm going to go into the area of hey, I don't want to be involved in that. So let's get my bird, my cart, and myself out of the way, unless I can't, and then I'll just get myself out of the way.
Well, at this point, I am going to offer you 2 shiny XP, and say that you are on your cart and the hole is opening up before you. And your cart is heading in a downward direction very fast.
Okay, I'm going to cut the bird loose, and I'm going to ride it like a surfboard and be prepared to jump off.
Okay. All right. You get 1 XP and you get 1 to give away.
Okay, I'm going to have on the one hand, I'm going to have the XP, and I'm going to give it to my other hand, so I have the 2 XP.
That's not how it works.
No.
Damn it! I give 1 to the bird.
Oh, no.
I will give 1 to Louise because she is the least crazy of the 2.
Okay. All right.
Wait,
And
you got someone wrong.
by the way, XP can be used to be spent to reroll rolls, apart from several other uses.
I was looking to see if it had any XP already accounted for, and I don't think it did.
No. So now you have,
all right, so
you have a potential reroll.
XP it is. All right.
You
No, I gave you an XP already, John, so you have 2 now.
Oh yeah. Okay. You crash. You feel the earth moving beneath you, and you're basically going down into a slide, basically. And your cart is picking up speed. You can hear the cloth covering of the cart. You can hear it flapping above you as you're picking up speed. And beneath you, you can actually see the green glow of an open chamber. And inside the chamber, you've got about 20 or so feet to go before you plummet into it. But you can see several conveyor belts on which are crystals. What do you think?
Okay. Are they close enough to make a leap to get onto the conveyor belts?
You could definitely attempt it. I'm going to say that this is going to be quite difficult, though.
Okay, he's got +2 for the climbing and jumping, and he has the Born Lucky and last case scenario safe fall.
Okay. Born Lucky. How does that work?
Anything that I want to happen happens well. No, it says you seem to be better than most people because you are. Your ancestors were part of a genetic experiment, and your genes are far superior to those of an average human. That's the background.
He's an X-Men.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to say, since you're jumping, you get. It was going to be a 9 to try and leap onto one of the conveyor belts, but because you're good at jumping, it's going to go down to an 8. If you want to, you can spend effort, speed, to try and reduce the difficulty a bit more.
No, I think that should be fine. It's 8 or better, right?
Well, it's a level 8, so that would be 3. Yeah, 3 times 8. So, yeah, not exactly possible to roll on a d20 unless you roll a 20.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. Let's go ahead and modify the speed there.
Okay.
And I believe we had determined I could modify it by 2 stages, right?
Up to 3.
Up to 3. Effort 3, edge 2 for the speed. Okay. So let's go ahead, and it's an important thing, so I'll go ahead and do 3. So I'll knock my... You said 3 would cost me 5, correct?
Yes, because you have 2 speed edge.
So I'm going to knock my 19 down to a 14.
Okay. And you've reduced it by 3, so you're down to... All right. So yeah, make me a roll.
All right, rolling.
Level 15 or better.
Yeah, I'm clearing my score, and without any bonuses added to it, it has a 16. Do I? I don't think I need to modify it. I don't think I can modify it. All I have is I have a 16.
Okay. Yeah, you manage it.
Oh, okay.
All right. So tell me what that looks like.
On the way over, did he happen to catch what happened to the bird? He was trying to catch a view of the bird. Concern for the bird.
The bird. I'm going to say that the bird managed to. You cut him loose just as you felt the cart sliding down, and the bird is now is looking down into the hole, kind of confused.
Oh, good. Okay, so the conveyor belts are somewhere in the arrangement of the hole, or they're above the hole.
You're basically in a sliding shaft leading into a room where various conveyor belts are. They're of varying heights. You've landed on the topmost one.
Okay, so I could, in some form or fashion, make my way down on the various conveyor belts to get to the bottom floor?
Yes.
Okay. Being the super dexterous sort of guy he is, he's got his piece of fruit left over from the cart. He's going to nibble on that and make his way down the conveyor belt obstacle course here.
Okay. I'm going to say you manage that. And as you're making your way down, you see a large kind of tentacle descend from the ceiling and grab one of the crystals in front of you, and a hole opens up in the floor below, and the tentacle takes the crystal down into the floor below.
Weird.
All right.
Is there any way to avoid these tentacles? I would rather not
be
grabbed by a tentacle.
From time to time, they are grabbing at the crystals, but they seem to be ignoring you.
Okay, well then I will stay far away from the crystals, since they seem to be a target of attention.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Go ahead.
What was that?
No, I'm good. Go ahead. Go back to the combat or whatever's going on over there.
Perfect. Okay, so you. All right, we need some initiative from you, Mel. Unless you want to try and get out of it by some other means.
I was going to try and communicate, but I rolled a 5 for my initiative, so there you are.
Okay. So the creature...
would I be able to also roll an initiative because I'm hiding within around the same area? I assume I'd be able to see the disturbance.
You see Mel emerge from one of the exits, or entrances in this case.
Bloody amateurs. I rolled a 20 because I'm using my bloody orange die and I love it so much.
Ah.
That always rolls well.
You ever do the saltwater test with your dice before, James?
From time to time.
Jessica had her roll high or low, and this has been my GM die for like 8 years now.
Really?
Yeah.
You never told me. Can I see? What would happen if I lost it?
I'd be pretty pissed because I can no longer party wipe my players.
This is like the most basic looking
All right.
Of course, it's basic die.
So yeah, give me what is your initiative, Jordan?
It was a 20.
Oh well, then yes, you have the chance to go before the creature can cry out.
I am going to throw my gas bomb. Sorry, Mel, this may hurt a little.
All right.
Roll.
No, I need it. Do I have to roll for it? It's a level 7 gas bomb. I know I have to roll for the effect.
No, I'm going to let you go ahead and use it as is.
We just get the effect rolled. Page here. Fuck yeah! Pardon my language, but I got the one I actually wanted by 3 points. Sleep gas. Living creatures that breathe fall asleep for a number of rounds equal to the cipher level or until awoken by a violent action or an extremely loud noise.
Okay.
So yeah, I throw it basically right at the crowd. I figure gas doesn't kill my companion. I will get her out of there when.
Okay. Is there a radius or no?
It is. Let me double check. I know it's. I think it's short radius.
Okay. I'm going to
So an
say.
immediate distance.
Okay, I'm going to say that you get most of them.
Okay.
But,
The cloud also lingers for 6 rounds.
okay,
Six
it lasts for that long.
Yes.
Okay.
It lingers for 1d6 rounds. I just rolled a 6. I actually didn't want it that high, but we'll take it.
Okay. So Mel is knocked down as well.
I'd assume so.
Okay. There are from various side tunnels or so. There are 6 of them that emerge, and
Okay.
they survey what's going on in the room, and they pull out their white knives and leap towards you.
Okay. Now, one thing I do want to mention. Mel, I guess as a player and not a NPC, she would get a chance to roll past it, but it's a level 7, so
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah,
we'll
let's give it a
resolve that
shot.
on her turn whether she's awake.
Okay, and is that going to be speed or might?
That would probably be intellect, to be honest, since you're trying not to fall asleep.
Probably, yeah, or might, trying to resist the gas.
Oh yes, that.
I'll say
Yeah.
might.
Okay.
Just because I have an edge.
Yeah. Let's resolve that now, and then that way that can inform your next move, basically.
Okay, so I'm going to use all 3 levels that I can.
Okay.
And I'm not going to roll the one that's been rolling shitty for me. I rolled a 6.
Okay.
Use XP.
Oh, I'm going to use my XP. True.
You have 2.
I
Yeah.
have 3, actually.
Oh, how do you have free?
Because I had 2 GM intrusions. No, I had 2 GM intrusions, and then John gave me one.
Oh, where'd you get the second GM intrusion XP to, John?
Yeah, I give
Yes,
one to you and one to him.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I rolled a 14. Is that better?
Yes,
I brought it down 3 levels.
you brought it down to 12.
Oh, so I did it.
All right. Well done. So you inhale the gas, but then right as you're right as you're about to inhale, you cover your face and manage to make it out of the cloud.
Yes.
The guy who was in front of you falls limply to the ground.
I laugh.
All right. So yes, there are 6 of them, and they are rushing towards the pair of you. Jordan, you get the first move.
Okay, I am going to draw. Actually, I'm just going to use my fist actually, because that's how I normally go about it. So I'm going to wrap my fist in a sheen of boiling void matter, and dash towards the closest one. So essentially, I'm using Shadow Dash to do 2 extra damage with and move a short distance with the same action.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see if I can hit. Where is my d20?
You have 8.
I got an 11, and I'm skilled with my fist. No, wait, no, I'm not. Yeah, and since it's a medium, I don't get a step down.
All right. So what was the?
But actually, I should point out. Does this count as part of exploring this new structure?
Fighting these creatures?
Yes.
I would say typically I would say no, but since this is a one shot, I would say yes.
Sweet. Then I am enthralled, so it brings it down 1 step.
All right. So what is your grand total?
It would be an 11, bringing it down 1 steps.
Okay. The group they are. I'm counting them as one group of level 6 creatures.
Okay, so I do not hit.
No, you sort of you punch towards one of them, but he manages to dance out of the way.
Mhm.
And that leaves you, Mel. What did you roll on your initiative?
Sorry, I rolled a 5.
Okay.
And not
All right.
well.
No. So you get to go next.
I get to go next?
Mhm.
Oh, I'm surprised by that. Okay, I'm going to.
Or actually, no. Sorry, scratch that. The monster goes next, then you.
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering. I'm like,
Yeah.
18,
I did not roll well.
5.
Yes. Alrighty. So, all right. The creatures are at the moment they're focused on you, Jordan, and a pair of them leap forward and stab at you.
Okay.
Make me a roll.
I'm gonna spend an XP to reroll that.
By the way, John, from the floor below you, you hear from one of the openings in the floor that opens for the tubes to go down and deposit the crystals.
Yes.
You hear the unmistakable sound of fighting.
He will draw his
Okay.
bow and arrow.
Okay. And
So I
roll me
got a
initiative.
16.
Okay. Sorry, Jordan.
Sorry, I got 16, bringing it down 2 steps.
Okay. Yeah.
Can't do that.
Yes, you do not manage it. They leap forward and stab at you.
Sorry, 16 with 2 steps. I mean, is I bring it down to 2 steps, so it should be a task 4.
Oh, okay. Then you're good to go.
Yeah. Sorry, I kind of tell you the dice roll and then how many steps I bring down the task because I'm not sure sometimes what the task is.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, for all
No problem.
interactions with this group, it's level 6. So you brought it down to a 4, so you're good to go.
Cool.
All right. So yeah, they leap forward and they stab at you, but they don't manage to get you. You manage to leap aside. John, roll me.
Blocks most of it.
Let me know what that is.
Say again, please.
Yeah. Okay. So you got a 14 initiative. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So next round we'll let you go just after Jordan.
Very good.
Oh. All right. And Mel, it is your turn.
Okay. So I have to beat an 18.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have something that's called improvised, which takes 2 intellect damage, and it's an asset if I'm untrained to something, and I don't have training in. I don't even know if attacking skills can be trained.
No.
Can?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's a separate ability.
Okay, so is that so am I able to use that to lower the difficulty?
You have to explain how you're improvising. Like maybe you're using a rock as a makeshift bludgeon to just catch them off guard or something, but you have to kind of explain how you're improvising to justify the feat.
Okay. So
Maybe blind luck can even be a justification, rules as written. So maybe you catch them off guard because of the confusion with the gas bomb.
okay, and that's how you're feeling about this, GM man?
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Okay. Then yeah, I'll just say as part of my avoiding the gas bomb that I'll do that I'll improvise some kind of I don't know, roll on the ground to get out of it, and when I exit the roll I can use that to stab one of the awake baddies.
I'm going to say
you
managed to, you managed to get behind the group that's attacking Jordan and stab at one of them that's got his back turned towards you.
Okay, so then that gives me an asset, so that brings it down to 15 I have to beat to hit them. All right, I don't know that I have anything else I can do, so that's what I'm going to do. I'll roll it. Nope. Roll 6. You know what? I'm gonna try and re-roll that.
Alrighty.
I did it. I rolled a 15.
Excellent. Okay, how much damage do you do?
4.
Okay. Did you want to spend effort to deal more damage or no?
Yeah, sure.
Damn
Might?
it.
Okay. Yeah.
Might?
How much? Yeah. How much effort?
I'll just do 1 level.
Okay, so that's 3 more damage.
Cool.
It was 7 total, right? Okay. Okay. As you stab into that guy, he doubles up and turns towards you, and he looks like he's going to go for the next round.
Okay.
All right.
I'm just gonna say to him, oh, you're not who I thought you were. I'm so sorry.
All right, Jordan, top of the round.
So I activate my Void Fist and smack the nearest guy. I got a 19 and no modifiers,
You can't do that.
but I'm sure that's a hit.
You can't do that.
Let me just double check my sorry, my foci. I just want to see if I have a relevant minor effect I might like to use.
Mm-hmm.
Have you bookmarked your copy?
Of
Yeah.
no, of the Jade Colossus? No, not yet.
It's the one thing I wish they did is they bookmarked it. It's very hard to look through 145 pages.
Yeah.
I found it though. So I get additional +1 armor for 1 minute with midnight armor. I like that. I think I'm going to take that.
Okay. Alrighty.
Okay, so I strike and let's see. Void Fist does 2 damage that would ignore armor, and on top of my regular damage, so +3 because it's 19. So 9 damage in total, 2 of it ignoring any armor they may have.
Okay. How much damage was that, sorry?
9 in total, with 2 ignoring armor.
Oh, very nice. Okay. All right. One of them drops dead.
Perfect.
All right. Okay. And John.
Yes.
As you're looking down into the hole beneath you, you can see this this battle going on, and you see next to you this. It looks there is a structure next to you which looks to be powering one of the conveyors, and
Okay.
You see a glowing orb at the center of the structure, and if you want to spend some intellect, I will let you know something about it.
Sure. Let's do that mechanic.
All right, 3 points.
All right, I'm going to my intellect, and I'm changing it from a 13 to a 10.
All right, I'm going to let you know that this is a. 1 second, I have it here. In its current form, it is the power for the conveyor belt. But once removed, it counts as an entropy mine, a cipher.
Nice.
It
So
is
go ahead.
It is a level 8, and it. I'll let you know the other things that it does. Well, if you use it. But it's basically a bomb.
And is this something within my skill set to remove from said?
Definitely. It's something you could grasp it, but you feel like it will become unstable once removed from the device it's housed in.
Okay, and when I look down below, do I see either one of my missing female party members?
You do. You see them on the fringes of a angry group of black cloaked figures who are wielding knives.
My particular character has a complete distrust and dislike of any black cloaked figures, especially in large groups. It's a childhood thing. So he is going to remove this device that then becomes an entropy bomb, and he's going to chuck it in the general direction on the opposite side of where the two party members are, so that it's black cloaked, mistrust people, and then entry bomb.
Okay.
We're just going to call this a bomb.
And as it hits the ground, it splits open, and a wave emanates from it. And you can see that the wave strikes one of the sleeping forms on the ground of one of the black cloaked figures, and you see it decay before your eyes, and the flesh melts from the bones. The bones turn to dust, and there's nothing left of it, and the wave is still ongoing.
Nice.
In fact, everyone that is in the chamber is going to have to make a level 8 speed defense in order to try and avoid this explosion.
I'm spending 3 levels of effort.
Okay.
I heard you guys doing that before I even rolled, because fuck that. And it was a task 4 for me, and I got a 15.
Okay.
I am also going to spend 3 levels of effort, and I also have speed defense trained.
Okay.
So I don't know if it brings
I'm going to say that you two managed to, like, one of you grabs the other's arm, and you kind of run towards the wall. And one of the exits that you did not see any of the black coat figures coming out of before. And you're basically you manage to get inside before the wave passes by.
Awesome.
And it goes into the tunnel, but not very much. So you manage to escape it. But everything within the chamber is dead.
Because that's what we do.
And John, you have caused destruction.
It's what I do.
And about
is the wave done? Like, the wave is gone?
Yes.
I go back into the room. I'm going to see if anything, like any ciphers I can find from these piles of cloaks and dust.
Time to loot.
Yeah, you find a few things, but everything appears to be immensely aged.
Oh.
Well beyond like things that the knives that they carried in their hands were gleaming and beautiful before, but now they are old and cracked, and they look 1,000 years old, whereas before they looked fresh and new.
Nice.
If I were to make a searching roll, would there be a possibility of finding something that may have been either immune or stable enough that it would still work, maybe?
Yes.
With that much passage? Perfect. I rolled a 7 with a training, so 1 step down.
You managed to find a couple of midnight stones in what would have been the robes of the people that are no longer around. They appear miraculously unharmed by the wave.
I'm not surprised, given my history with these things.
Mm-hmm. And in the roof above you, you see John's character sort of craning down, and he looks very responsible for what just happened.
Amateurs.
Did you see what I did? I just made everything an antique. Yes.
Including almost us.
Well,
Worth it.
worth it. Totally.
I'll take my glasses off.
Alrighty. So yeah, what do you it will roll for the Midnight Stones as they come into play. But
Yeah.
you have the chamber, you have the various exits. What do you guys do?
I personally think we should get out of here. It's been enough excitement for me for one day. It's pretty dangerous down here. I did see some people that were potentially locked in crystals if we wanted to go and save them.
But yeah,
Heroics isn't really my
Yeah,
thing,
me neither.
but
I don't really
I'm
care.
definitely intrigued by the fact that they had Midnight Stones. And this structure does kind of remind me of the Jade Colossi in past expeditions. So I disagree with Mel. I'm all for going deeper in.
okay.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna follow Nyx's lead and do whatever she wants to do.
Are they waiting for me to get all the way down, or are they just going on about their business again?
Well, it's
That
up to you.
depends. Are you going to come down?
He was making his way down already.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So as you
While he's sorry?
everyone make me a perception roll. This is quite a difficult one. This is going to be a 9.
Yeah.
I rolled a 1.
I rolled a 5.
Ooh, nice.
I knew I was going to roll a 1 eventually. I'm glad I rolled on something I probably wasn't going to succeed on anyway.
Okay. Did anybody succeed?
I rolled an 11.
Okay.
Never succeed.
Alrighty. So Jordan, take 2 shiny XP.
Yes.
All the Sims are placed. I'll crash them.
No, you get 1.
Thanks.
Let's see. You hear that the chamber has become extremely quiet. It's that moment after a lot of tense action that you suddenly realize that everything around you is silent, and then you hear a cracking noise, and from beneath your feet, you feel the ground start to move ever so slightly, and something erupts out of the ground, and you're going to need to make a speed defense in order to not be smashed by whatever it is.
Is that Jordan only?
Just Jordan,
Okay.
directly beneath it.
Okay. I'm gonna spend 3 levels of effort because I have a feeling this is gonna hurt, and so that brings me down 4 steps. So I rolled a 12 and bring me down 4 steps there.
Okay. Yes, you managed to leap out of the way just in time as a massive crystalline skull emerges from the ground beneath you.
Am I able to make a recovery roll?
Yeah, I took my instantaneous recovery just now.
Technically not instantaneous. It takes an action, Mel. So you got to at least tell a GM when you're taking it.
Well, I just did. We're here.
And as this, it rises from the ground, and it is made of pure green crystal.
It's the Wizard of Oz.
Somewhat similar.
Is it disembodied?
And it is disembodied. It is a skull only. And it looks out at you, but there's no intelligence from the eyes. And it opens its jaw, and from its inside of its mouth, you can see a portal. And
Step in the portal.
Same.
you step in the portal.
Oh yeah.
Of course. This is what I've been looking for.
Okay. And you, John, what do you do? No. Okay.
He's gonna wait and see. He's just sitting here wondering how they made it through the world this long. Go ahead.
Because we go through the portals, that's how.
Okay. And as you two enter the portal, you hear the jaws of the crystal skull close behind you with a snapping sound. And you exit the portal, and you see the lightning of day around you. And before you, towering up massively high, is the huge form of the Jade Colossus.
Yes.
And John?
So much for going back to town. I'm going into there.
And John, you are still inside the chamber with the skull. And that is where we are going to wrap up for now. But I'm quite interested to play this again to see where we go from here.
For sure.
Very cool.
Yeah. So yeah. So the chambers and pretty much everything beneath the ground was generated using the Jade Colossus book.
Cool.
I rolled on a table and it said, "Here is a corridor. Here is a passageway. Here's a tube. Here's a structure. Here is a colony of abhumans." And then, and then from there, there are other tables which give you more specific details, like, oh, it says these are ghouls, and oh, this chamber has a crystal with a monster in it, and oh, this one has a humanoid skull in it, and everything.
And you tie it all together into something.
Yeah, and you tie it all together, and it works. It works beautifully.
Yeah, that was a really seamless story. So.
Yeah, I mean, considering that, I rolled it all up and then just put it all together. I would say that, someone mentioned that the Jade Colossus is the book that is going to be recommended right after you get the core book, and I would say yes, because any kind of structure, any kind of otherworld thing that you want to create, this is perfect for that. And it, I made this map of this underground structure in about half an hour, and that was it.
Cool.
So you did you prepped it all and made it coherent before you started running. You didn't do it on the fly, right?
Yes, but I would say I did adjust things on the fly because I wasn't expecting the party to be quite so split. To be honest,
you should get used to that.
True. So I did have to adjust a few things, erase a passageway here and connect a passageway there. But it did work. It did work quite well, and I would imagine if I'd had the sheet available in front of me, that I could have created on the fly very easily.
Now, how well do you think this is if you took the mechanics for generating the ruins and used it in settings outside of Numenera? For example, the Cypher Core rulebook, The Strange, Gods of the Fall. I can see Gods of the Fall work really well actually with the Runescape.
Yeah, Gods of the Fall is the setting that immediately comes to mind as being the most perfect, but also The Strange would work really well.
What about a generic fantasy? Do you think it's too weird?
I think, well, if you're going with generic fantasy, some of it could be a bit too weird, but at least as a say, if you were to make a typical fantasy dungeon and use this to map it, the very basic map tool that gives you a corridor or a passageway or whatever, that would work quite well. And you could certainly write up a D100 table based on the one in the Jade Colossus that would give you similar results for whatever specific setting you wanted. One idea I had was a kind of Indiana Jones cipher system game, and you wanted to create a lost temple. This would work perfectly.
Cool.
So you're saying for GMs who are not just focused on Numenera, but more focused on homebrewing and Cypher in general, this would be a good purchase for them, even if they're not into the Numenera setting?
Definitely. I would say anyone who likes the cipher system, this game would be. I mean, this book would be worth picking up.
Perfect.
And I believe it's about to be released at Gen Con.
Yes, they just did the pre-orders, so everyone who did the pre-orders is also getting the PDF, which is pretty cool. I'm probably going to wait till it comes out in shops myself, because I just like to go to the local shop, buy it impulsively, because that's the type of GM I am. But I do recommend anyone else to pre-order it, because if you like the other books, it looks good from what I've read.
Yeah, I cannot wait to save up to get my copy.
So I'm wondering what John's perspective was, being that this is his first Cypher System game ever, and what he thought about the setting. And
it kind of threw you in the deep end, John. How did you do?
Yeah.
A fair number of the mechanics are still
bit hazy.
Well, it's easy to follow along with what you say. Say it costs you 3 and you gain 15, and there are things like that make sense when you do it. But if you were to ask me, tomorrow, I probably wouldn't remember. But the foundation of it is sound. It's nothing like what I thought it was going to be. When I came into it, based on opinions and input from other people, it sounded like the GM wasn't involved at all. There was no GM. It was basically 3 players and another player who really wasn't a player, adding some input into it, which really turned me off. And they were so excited to say there's no damn GM, because I was basically like, get off my lawn. I don't want to hear it. That's why I just didn't even bother with it. I collected the books and I was like, I love the art, and that's enough. They're like, no GM, we've got so many freedoms. I'm like, go fuck yourself. I don't want to have anything to do with it.
That is one of the biggest misconceptions. I find that Cypher's honestly the most GM friendly, because rather than have us sorry, my cat's doing something weird, but rather than have us do something like have to continue to follow the minutia rules and roll tables and all that, we don't have to roll dice. It's just whenever we want to throw a wrench into the spanner, we give you guys XP, and most of the time you guys go for it. I've had a couple players pay XP to refuse it, and we just think those guys are weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you could run this GM-less. It's more like the GM gets to... this is a game where the GM gets to relax and just worry about the story.
Yeah,
right.
That's the thing.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you guys get to spend a lot less time on building the story, so you can actually be adults and still play, which is cool. And the stories don't, they don't lack anything, even though you're not spending like 40 hours a week planning.
So looking back and listening to the same inputs, because they were repeated inputs.
Yeah.
So more than likely what has happened is that those people, which is very common amongst gamers, lacked communication skills, and they were not able to express.
Or did they GM Cypher games? Were they all players, or did they GM Cypher games themselves?
I would say the bulk of them were players.
That's probably why they had these misconceptions, because unless you're a player that pays attention to things mechanically, like Mel doesn't GM Cypher, but she listens to me and James talk about it. She has played in my games for about 6 months in it, so she's pretty familiar with it and has gotten past most of those misconceptions. But if you talk to most GMs who run Cypher, they'll firmly insist they do have a very important role still.
Of course, I think.
Go ahead, please.
I think the GM is super important still. It's easier for them to be able to put things together just because of the system's so simplistic. And like from a player's perspective, for me, it's so much more fun to play this than D&D, for example, because the turn rotation's quicker. The static damage is there. It's just so much easier to play, and it's easier for the GMs. The Cypher system is the best.
At times. Sorry, go on, John.
One of the other aspects that I had firmly in my head based on the input that came in was that you had these set characteristics that had a value, which is true, and that value was attritionable, so that as you used it, they degraded. So basically, to do anything, you had to pay. So in the end, you had to hope to make it through the adventure because you had to pay to do anything. So, but it didn't make a lot of sense. None of this made a whole lot of sense, which is what turned me off.
Yeah.
If all these things that don't make sense, because yeah, I've been playing since '79. So when I start piecing things together and they don't make sense, I've got other things to do. I don't really want to waste my time.
How do you feel after your first experience with Cypher?
It's very interesting. Now, my one thought that I was going to bring up, but I was going to wait. Let me pull up my character sheet.
I think we'll wrap up the broadcast right now.
Okay.
But I was going to say that at times, Cypher system seems to me a bit like two systems. One, a very narrative system for the GM where he doesn't have to worry very much about mechanics. And then a nice, slightly crunchier system for the players where the players feel powerful and they feel like their actions matter.
Right.
So,
sorry,
yeah.
go ahead. The other thing that I wanted to say about, just to add on to what you're saying for the players, just the descriptor alone just helps so much when you're talking about narrative games and RP and understanding who your character is. And I just find that super, super, super helpful, especially in a one-shot situation. So I think all around, this system is really, really cool to play. And knowing that that story was just built based upon roles and tables in the game is just amazing to me because it was a seamless, really quality story.
Alrighty, and we're wrapping up our first excursion into the outskirts of the Jade Colossus. Hopefully, next time we'll get to actually explore the structure itself. We'll just have to get you there, John.
No worries.
All right.